Hello and welcome. Let me just straighten that up. I hope that works. Let's have a look. Just give me a minute there to sort that out. Hello ladies and welcome. Welcome to our 3-day Periscope training. And it's all about making money for real. Okay, we're going to talk and get into reality and talk frankly about making money for real and getting into reality with our life, with our current circumstances, as well as where we want to go in the future so that we can figure out the gap and work out our path to get there. Let me explain. Okay, so welcome to everyone that's signing in. And I want to begin today by talking about money, or rather I wanted to organize this training today because money is such a very important part of our lives, right? So we can't do anything without money. That's the reality. And the sooner that we get into our own reality with money and with our, where we're at and truly where we want to go, then we don't really have a chance of getting there. Okay, I'm talking to you honestly and openly about my own life and my own experiences with having made money, with having lost money, and then in the process of making money again. And it's not rocket science and it's not as hard as people think, but there is some method to it. And I want to share this with you because I want to make sure that you as a woman in today's day and age are empowered to go out and do what it is that you need to do to get into reality with your life, with your current circumstances, and with your money so that you can start living the life of your dreams, okay? It's not just, like something that I'm saying. It really is possible. And I can tell you that from my own experience. I can tell you that from the experience that my clients are having. And just by looking at the world out there, okay? People every day, all day long are living in abundance and prosperity, and you can too if that's what you want. There is no lack of money in the world. Like I said, money is a decision. It's something that affects every decision we make. And so the sooner we get into reality with it, the sooner that we make it more real, rather than just kind of burying our head in the sand, the sooner we have a chance of getting out there and making the money that we need to live the life of our dreams. Now, this camera looks a little bit crooked still for me. I'm using a tripod, so, whoa, hang on a sec. Okay, so if my head's cut off or half of my body's cut off, I'll try and sort of sit back a little bit. Okay, so making money for real, and day one today we're talking about getting into reality with everything. Okay, get into reality, woman, was the topic for today. And really there's a number of things we need to get into reality with. So we're going to talk about that today, day one. Tomorrow, day two, we're going to talk about how to make the money happen after we've gotten into reality with that, with where we're at, where we're going, and what the gap is. And then on day three, there'll be a Q&A live call for me to take any of your questions and answer anything that you want to know about making money, about getting into reality, so that you too can do the same. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you so much. So day one, we're talking about getting into reality, woman. And what does that mean? So we're talking about we cannot achieve anything in our life unless we get real with it. Okay, that's what I know for sure from my own experience. Unless I get really intimate with what it is that I want to do, with where it is I'm heading, and what the reality is, there's no chance that anything can happen. Okay, so I want you to get that clear, because that's kind of step number one. What is your vision? Get into reality with that. Where is it that you want to be? What is it that you want to achieve? And get really clear with what that looks like. Cast your mind out. We went through a similar exercise on the last Periscope training. Cast your mind out to the vision that you want in the future, and get real with that. Is that what you really want? And, as you start investigating that, you might decide that that's not what you want. You might have thought, for instance, that, you wanted to become a ballerina, but when you investigate it further, you realize that you don't really want to do all the things that it takes for you to become a ballerina, right? So you drop that. That's kind of like letting go of the wishes that aren't important, and then actually getting real with what is actually important for you going forward. And for me, you know, there are a number of things that I focused on in my vision. And this goes back to way back from when even before I knew any of this stuff, you know, even way back as a young girl, like I always had a vision for what was next for me, what was next on the horizon for me. So I focused on, you know, little increments. I would see something that someone was doing or something that they had that I wanted. And so that would be my next kind of thing that I was envisioning for myself. And so I would go out and set out to achieve that, whether that was, you know, in high school or during university or my job or in life in general. I would always look outside and see, well, what is it that I'd like for my life? What are other people doing that I aspire to do as well? How real is this for me? Is it true for me? Is it real for me? Yes. Then I would look at, okay, where am I at now and how do I get to that vision? Okay, let me give you an example. So this house, for instance, I'm moving out actually next week from this house, but this house was a vision that I had for myself like 16, 17 years ago, when I had seen how other people were creating wealth through property, and I wanted to do the same. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And so, of course, I didn't know how at the time. And of course, I didn't have all the money to go ahead and do my first investment. But I got real with that desire, and it was my vision. And I looked at where I was at. Okay, so that's step 2. You look at your reality. Where was I at the time? I couldn't afford it, but I started to ask better quality questions like, how can I afford it? How can I buy property? What sort of property do I need to buy? What location? You know, how much would it have to cost that I could somehow, you know, get some funding for? What could I do with this property? And so I narrowed it down and I had some pretty sort of, you know, good quality questions that gave me the answers that I needed in order to bridge the gap from where I was to where I wanted to be. Okay. And I made that happen. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you so much. And at the time, you know, I was 30 years old when I built this. It turned one property into 2, basically doubled my money overnight. Well, not overnight. It took about a year to sort of do this project, but it really put me in good stead then to go forward and continue with that desire, which was for me related with property. Now, for you, it could be something else. Okay, so I'm just giving you this as an example of what's possible. And the same happened when I started my coaching business. Okay, before I started my coaching business, I didn't even know coaching existed. And I, you know, when it came into my world, when it came into my reality, and I saw how other people were, you know, living a great life and being a transformational coach, then I decided that that's what I wanted to do as well. So I focused on that. I made that my goal. I made that the vision. And then I looked at, well, where am I at? What's missing? What do I need to get to fill the gap? What knowledge do I need? What do I need to change in myself, in my thinking? You know, what is it that's missing to get me from where I am to where I want to be? You know, I had to find out about, you know, how to set one up, how to, you know, find clients. I had to do all of that. I didn't know how to do it before I started, but because it was a vision and it was a desire and it was true for me, I made it a reality. Okay. And I took you through the steps in the last training about how I did that for my life. So today we're talking about getting into reality, and we have talked about vision being the first part, getting really clear about what it is that you desire, know where you're heading, you know, into the future. And then the second part of that is getting real with where we're at. Okay, so let me talk to you a little bit about that. Getting real with where we're at is knowing exactly what the lie of the land is for us. Okay, so not burying our head in the sand and saying, well, you know, oh, it's all too hard and I'm all overwhelmed and I'm stressed and I'm in fear because I don't know, I want $1 million and I don't know how to get there, and everyone else around me is making $1 million, and I want to do that too, but not really getting real with, okay, where am I at exactly? And actually even getting real with, do I need $1 million right now? Dialing back from the vision that we had, our sort of long-term vision for ourselves, but bringing it closer and chunking it down and making it more real for, say, the next 6 months, the next 3 months, and saying, what is it that I want to happen in that smaller time frame, that chunk of time, and where am I at exactly right now, and what is it that's missing? What's the gap? Getting really real with that. Like, is it training that I need? Is it knowledge that I need? Is it, do I need to go and get some money so I can invest in myself, in my business? Is it, what actions do I need to take? And asking those quality questions and finding out where are we at currently, and looking at our expenses. Now that's a very important part. I speak to women and it amazes me that women don't know what they're currently spending on their day-to-day living at the moment. Forget about the future. You need to know exactly right now where you're at. How much are you spending on your expenses, your bills, your electricity, your phone, how much does it cost you to live and support your family in any given month or 12-month period? And once you know that and you're in reality with that, then you can look at what's the gap. If I'm here and, I want to be over there, then what does over there cost? Okay, and this is where we look back at our desires and we dial them back to the 90-day chunk, or the 3 months or 6-month chunk that's sort of in the near future, and we say, well, what is it that I need to get there? Okay, and then we look at the cost of that. So for instance, if in 90 days I want to take my family on a family holiday, I want to start a coaching business, and I want to do a program to teach me how to do that, and I want to buy Christmas presents for everyone because Christmas is around the corner, then I can work out what that costs, okay? And I can know that in the next 90 days, I'm going to need to bring in, for instance, $30,000, okay? Because the holiday costs, say for instance, $20,000, and then the difference is made up of Christmas presents and the other thing that I said I wanted to get done. Okay, so basically then the goal is not $1 million, which I need in 3 years time. The goal is $30,000, and I need $30,000 by the end of the 90 days. And then I start asking myself better quality questions, and I ask the universe, how can I make that money happen? What is it I need to do? If I'm in a current job, can I get a promotion? If I'm in my business, how can I grow it? If I have savings somewhere, how can I draw on those, and how can I invest that money? Or start getting into reality with what can happen for you. Even if you don't have all the answers, you ask, what is it I need to do to get to where I want to go in those 90 days? And if $30,000 is your goal that you need, then you go out and make that happen. And we'll talk more about that in the rest of the training. We'll talk tomorrow, day 2, about how to actually go ahead and make some money and bring money in when you need it. Once you've done this background work, once you've looked at your next 90 days, and you looked at your desires and you've costed them out, and you've added the current expenses that you're currently incurring to live your life, you add those two together, and that's the number that you need to be working towards, and that's the number that you need to figure out how you're going to get, okay? But without knowing that, without knowing where you're at exactly financially right now and where you're heading exactly financially in the future, you cannot work out the gap. And if you can't work out the gap, then you don't have anything to work towards. You've got no real drive to get you up every morning and make you hop out of bed and be enthusiastic about, getting to your goals and reaching your desires. I hope this makes sense, because I'm trying to speak with you honestly about how I've done it in my life that's helped me, and that how you can do it as well. Okay, it's not rocket science. It's not like, you have to have 5 degrees and, know a lot of stuff that you don't need to know. Like everyday people are making money. Everyday people are getting real with their current day circumstances. They're getting real with what it is that they desire, and they're making that their reality. Okay. And you can do it too. And I'm so thrilled about that for you. And this is why I've decided to get into the coaching as another, not only just as another avenue for me to make money in my business, but also because I'm so passionate about helping women to really get this. I mean, this is the crux of it. Because if a woman gets this and she gets real with where she's at and where she's going, what the gap is, then she has a chance of getting there. And then by empowering herself, you know, she has an opportunity to live her best life and to be a great role model for the people that are watching, for her children, for her clients, for, you know, for herself really. And I'm so lit up about that. And really that's what you know, what I desire for you is so that you can have this too, if this is in fact what you desire. Okay, so day one, we've talked about getting real, and we're talking about getting real with number one, our vision for the future, for the next, for the future ahead, but also bring it closer the next 90 days and figuring out how much do those desires cost so that we know, you know, where we're heading. Then the second part was knowing where you are right now, exactly in terms of your financial position. So, you know, you may need to go and do some homework and find out, you know, what does it cost you to live? A few weeks ago, shared a resource with you, which I'll add to the Periscope training as well, that sorry, someone's just coming the door. I shared a resource with you, which I'll share again, and it's the 90-day action plan, and that will actually help you to list out what your current expenses are, and then, you know, look at your desires and what the cost of those desires are, and adding those two together, and that's the number that we're working towards. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about the gap. Okay, we're going to talk about how to bridge the gap from where we are to where we want to go by finding different ways of making money. I'm going to share with you the 2 ways that I've used in my life that's worked for me. And, you know, there are many ways to make money, but I will share with you the 2 ways that I use, and I'll go into depth about that with you tomorrow. So make sure you dial in again tomorrow, and it's a different time tomorrow, a couple of hours after this time. So look out for the details in the Facebook group, the Global Woman Entrepreneur. And if you've signed up to get the replays, you'll also get the details there, and we'll send you reminders and all that sort of stuff. So ladies, I'm going to leave you with that today. I hope that you go off and get real with where you're at today. Write to me and let me know. I'm very accessible. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear, you know, where you've been stuck with reality before. Is it your thoughts? Is it, you know, your beliefs? Is it something that, you know, you need to address there? And that's one of the areas that I do work with my clients on, is helping them get into reality and bridging that gap, like I said before. So get real today. Write out your expenses, write out your desires, write out the cost of those, and write to me and tell me what the gap is for you, because I'd really love to know, and I'd really love to support you in bridging that gap, getting real with money and getting real with your, you know, with where you're heading in your life. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow, day 2. Thank you. Bye.